Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, we'd like to get this program started because we got a lot of information to give to you. So let me start out by saying thanks for being here today. My name is Phoebe Benziger. I'm one of the 4 forum facilitators. I say that every time I'm up here, along with Kathy Heavers, Judy Ann Files, and Barbara Bynum. Again, if there's, as we embark on a whole new year, what that means 52, probably 51 new topics, ladies. If there's anything out there that we have not touched on, or maybe it's been a long time and you would like to hear that presentation again, please let us know. Because sometimes really good topics fall in our laps, and sometimes we are pulling every rock over to see what's underneath there and see what we can bring to you guys and inform you. So with that being said, I would like to introduce our speaker today, who I'm sure most of you know, who's Steve Metheny. He's the director of the CMU campus in Montrose. I'd like to give you a really short, quick bio on Steve. He graduated from Farmington High School, of course in Farmington, New Mexico, in 1975. He then went to New Mexico State University and graduated with a degree in electrical engineering in 1981. He moved to Montrose in 1981 and worked for Delta Montrose Electric. That was back when Delta Montrose Electric, their office building, was what's now the Pocket Park between San Juan Construction and I don't know what's there. It used to be Brown Shoe Fit. It's been a Brazilian.
Secondhand Rose.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, he moved there. He worked for DMEA for 40 years, and he started in 1981. He then, in 1985, he tells me, I thought it was 86, he got his professional engineering, his PE degree in electrical engineering, which is a big deal for electrical engineers, from Colorado State, University of Colorado in Boulder.
Please don't go there.
I'm sorry, yeah, that's like confusing New Mexico State and UNM, sorry. And then he got his master's in electrical engineering after that. Apparently, he failed at retirement, failed horribly, and so he was then offered a job to become the director of the CMU campus here in Montrose, Colorado. When he took this job at the CMU campus, his daughter put it so aptly when she said, you know, Mom, hasn't Steve's first love always been education and furthering education for people? And Steve's motto has always been, as long as I've known him, is get an education, because that is something that nobody can ever take away from you, no matter what. Fun fact about Steve, he actually taught computer classes at Mesa State years ago when it was Mesa State, and they actually held their classes way out east of town, which again, I don't know what's there now, but at one time it was the Business Options building, and yeah, so Mesa State had their classes way out there for a long time. As director for the CMU campus, he works closely with our RE1J school system and concurrent education. He also works very closely with city and county governments. He and his wife Brenda, who's also a former teacher for the RE1J school district, live here in town, of course. Both of his children graduated from Montrose High School. His daughter Sarah resides in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she is employed as an informaticist, I believe that's what she tells me, for the with Presbyterian Hospital. She is, she's a collector of college degrees, and she's an avid learner, and she likes more letters behind her name. So I mean, she loves signing her name and then going through the alphabet, just putting it all down. His son Mark is a junior, I believe, at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. So to say we're lucky to have Steve as director of the CMU campus in Montrose is an understatement. So give him a warm welcome, and again, you guys know the drill. You'll have questions at the end. Try to save them for the end. I'll bring the microphone to you so that everybody can hear your question, and that Will, thanks Will for being back there, can actually have it on the CMU or on the City of Montrose Facebook page if you'd like to watch this again. So give Steve a warm welcome and we'll get going.
I actually did attend CSU.
I have to tell a quick story correcting that, because once I got my degree in electrical engineering, and I was out at Delta Montrose Electric, and the finance people would present these things, and they would start talking about in-substance defeasances and off-balance sheet transactions, and I don't know what that means. So I thought, I better go to school. So I went back to CSU to get my MBA. Went all the way through all of my grad school at MBA, and I went actually to Fort Collins to sit with my advisor to do my dissertation, my independent study of my dissertation. And Dean Lee, never forget Dean Lee, he told me, Steve, we can't award you a master's in business at Colorado State University. And I said, why not? And he said, because you don't have an undergraduate degree in finance or accounting or marketing. And I was like, and he says, you'll have to take some undergraduate classes first. So I said, got the knowledge that I needed, because now I can understand people like Keith when they start talking about all kinds of financial transactions. So I didn't complete my MBA at CSU, but I did go there. But I like to tell the derogatory statements about CSU because I didn't get my degree there. But anyway, my intent is to complete my MBA here at CMU over the next couple of years, though. So we'll try to get that done. But welcome to Colorado Mesa University. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to folks. Where are all the young people? Really, that's what we ultimately have to get to as students, right? Is a lot of us that have been in the community for a long time, that's one of our goals and responsibilities, is how do we help the young people in our community get what they need to be successful. When I came in 1981, and many of you have been in Montrose that long, there were no curb and gutter in most of Montrose, right? We had no storm drainage. We didn't have those kinds of things. But Montrose was on the up and coming. So one of the things that we try to do is that we try to enhance the folks that worked at Delta Montrose Electric by bringing in educated people that knew about power systems and knew about substations and computers and things like that. And so my first order of business, when I first came to Delta Montrose Electric, there were no computers. Now that was 1981, but computers, the first desktop computer came out in 1975. So we were already 6 years behind. And it didn't take us long before, and many of you know, as you probably receive power from Delta Montrose, is we have a fully automated system now. And so anytime all those computers are all taking place, but it takes people with training to learn how to do that. You don't have to be an engineer, but you do have to have training. So fast forward to Colorado Mesa University. As Phoebe said, when I retired from Delta Montrose Electric, I'd always taught as an adjunct here since 1991. And when I go through the history, you'll see that's when we started, 1991. So I was actually here when the Montrose campus started at Colorado Mesa, just teaching one class. And so I'm happy to know that in our community, we have people that teach classes. And since Keith's here, I'm going to pick on him. He's not only an engineer, he's also has an accounting background. Keith actually teaches accounting here. And that's what we have to have in our community, is people in our community teaching classes. If we had a pharmacology or pharmacy class, I would lean on George Gleason to teach that, because he's a retired pharmacist. Everybody here has a skill. Dr. Chamberlain has all kinds of skills to teach anatomy and physiology. Doris can teach nursing. Everybody's got skills that they can come, and Tammy can teach education and so on. And that's what I did, is one class per semester. I just taught a class while I was at Delta Montrose Electric. And so today we have Blaine Hall, Chief of Police, teaches our criminal justice class. We have Mike Kendall, who is over at the fire district, and he teaches our EMR class, and so on and so on and so on. And so rather than migrating and importing faculty and professors from Grand Junction, our goal at this campus is to do that locally. But it takes involvement. It takes people stepping out of their comfort zone and actually coming in and teaching a class to do those things. So what I want to do is just put together this presentation to keep me on track, because many of you know I can talk very tangentially. But today's objective is to really just enhance your understanding. But since we're all in choir practice here together, your goal then is to go back and tell other people, right? once you get informed, we have to tell other people in our community. Not too long ago, I was sitting, excuse me, in this very room, and there was a person sitting about where Ralph is, and when it came to questions and answers, I think it was in the county's presentation on the long-range plan or something like that. And he said, he stood up with the microphone and he said, what we really need in Montrose is a college. How many remember that? And I was like, oh my, I am not very good at this job apparently. But we have to spread the word. We really do. There's a lot of people that don't realize that we have a college here. But what I put down there is really important. Your local university and a technical college, okay? Many people think, when they think of Colorado Mesa University, they think getting a degree, getting a bachelor's degree in something, getting a master's degree in something like that. That's one thing, but we also have a technical college. So in this very building, which we're gonna have a tour at the end for anybody that's interested, we have a machine shop. Bill Patterson and TEI Rock Drills graciously donated us a CNC machine so that the students can learn state-of-the-art stuff right here in Montrose. We have a fully equipped welding shop with all of our, you can do MIG, TIG, all kinds of arc welding, plasma cutting, all that, all right here in Montrose. Just right across the hall here is our nursing lab, where all the LPN students learn nursing. And again, what a lot of you don't realize is that this is a destination college. It's not just get started here. Our students finish here. This is their experiences right here in Montrose. And many people a long time ago, right, Silka? Silka was the second person I met when I came to Montrose. Josie Del Tondo was the first one. But, so I still remember that. And I think Gordy was still hanging around at Colorado Youth in those days. But the times have changed, but at the same time, we have to grow our own. So the history, I want to talk a little bit about the history because some of this is important. I'll switch to my laser here. We started in 1925. Next year, 100 years for Colorado Mesa University, starting off as back in the day, it was Grand Junction Junior College. And then we became a state college and so on and so forth. But if you look, in 1937 is when it was called Mesa College. Now, Phoebe pointed out that I'm relatively old, that I wasn't here then. Okay, I wasn't here back in those days. But 1974 is when Mesa was able to award baccalaureate degrees. And then it wasn't until 1988 we became a state college. And then when I started teaching classes, it was in 1991. But back then, Western, Adams, and Mesa were in a consortium. So I was teaching classes that was recertification classes to the educators for all three of those college campuses. And then later, CMU broke away from that, as did the other colleges, and became what they are. But this is the important date that I want everybody to see. It was 2005 is when Colorado Mesa they bought, I think it was Utilitech or something like that up in Grand Junction, which was the trade school. And they created Western Colorado Community College. So then is when we had the ability to teach the trades, which, as we all know here, is super important. You know, the trades, super important for our communities to get people educated and trained up and skilled up. They also did a doctoral program, and there are some doctoral programs that they offer at CMU. We don't have any here. As most people know, most doctoral programs are online today. You still have to do visits to campus, but so we technically could say we have a master's degree program and a doctorate. But in 2011, we went from Mesa State College to Colorado Mesa University, and I still have some of the old shirts, so I might have to wear those someday. But it was kind of brilliant the way that was done, and I want to take a little bit of my own time just to explain that, is because a lot of people just think that it's just, why do people change their name? But as you know, with the introduction of the internet, when somebody's going to go shopping for colleges today, how do they do that? Online, right? And so are you ever going to try to, if you were gonna think about going to college in Grand Junction, Colorado, or Montrose, and you lived in Tampa, you would have no idea to Google something like Mesa, right? But you would probably do university and Colorado. Okay, well, so once that's there, then all of a sudden we show up. Now, one of the appealing things about Colorado that we all know, and one of the reasons why many of us are here, is because it's one of the most beautiful areas in the world, right? And that we want to enjoy the great outdoors and all the things that go with it. Well, a lot of people in the United States and internationally also like that. So when they do their searches, and you look at CMU's homepage on their website, they don't show a picture of the chemistry lab. Because nobody cares about that. What they show is Grand Mesa, and skiing, and mountain biking, and fly fishing, kayaking, and all the things that we all enjoy here. And that's why students think, aha, I want to go there. And so President Tim Foster at the time, who I'm a big Tim Foster fan, he loves the Montrose campus of CMU. He's been a big supporter back when he was the president, and that's now been handed off to President Marshall. John Marshall's now our president, loves the Montrose campus and loves the community down here. And one of the reasons that they really love the community is this very thing right here. They don't have this in Grand Junction. Every Wednesday, there's not a gathering at the university where people come and learn from each other. They don't have that. We're very fortunate in Montrose to have this kind of involvement by our community and engagement and those kinds of things. And that's one of the reasons that they love that. But Tim Foster used to be in the Colorado House of Representatives, as did his wife, but he knew that, not his wife, he knew that the funding for higher education was going down. As funding for K-12 went up, all those funds fell off for higher education. And so one of the things that Tim Foster knew was that if he was Colorado University, which raised the admissions requirements, that we would be able to get more out-of-state tuition. And since it's about 5 times more, then you end up only have to recruit 20% as hard to get the same tuition dollars. And that has become true. There's a lot of people that attend Colorado Mesa University that are not from here. They come from all over the place from here. The soccer team is mostly international now at Colorado Mesa. But for those of you that follow MAV athletics, they're in Division II in the NCAA, and they're almost every sport, they're in the top 5 or 6 at least, okay, and competing. So anyway, it's super important as to why that was changed to Colorado Mesa University. It was primarily for that funding and for that recognition. And then just this last August, we renamed Western Colorado Community College to CMU Tech. And I'd like to think that I have some things to say about that, because when I first came here, how do you explain to a community that you have 2 colleges here? Why are they competing with each other? That's really dumb. They're right across from each other. And we have 2 colleges. That's not very smart, because people didn't understand that it was one and the same. Well, now it's pretty easy to see that we're one and the same, right? We're all it's just the trade, the technical sector of the classes. But let me tell you a quick story about this is higher education. How many of you would recognize or agree with me that higher education is under some scrutiny, right? And in certain cases, I think there's probably some merit in that, because how many of you know some student that went on to college, spent a bunch of money for tuition, that just wasn't for them. They did it for their parents or their grandparents or somebody else, but it just wasn't really for them. And that what they really wanted to do was open a flower shop. That's what they really needed. So what skills did they need that they got in education to help them with that flower shop? Customer service, finance maybe, accounting, maybe some agronomics. Is that even a word? Something about plants, biology. But we now have the opportunity, since we have CMU Tech, to do what's called stackable credentials. That's the future, right? So you may take a biology class, but you also might take a welding class. You might take a machining class. You might take Keith's accounting class. Those kinds of things, and then you stack your credential however you want, right? Now, if you're going to want to be a physician, like Dr. Chamberlain, you're probably going to have to go through and get a bachelor's degree in something like biology biology or science or something like that to get into med school, right? You have to have some foundation kinds of things, but a lot of people don't want to do that. So anyway, this is the important message, is that we have CMU and we have CMU Tech right here, okay? I have to use two things here. Tammy and I are going to fix that. So, a family of campuses. We have a main campus that goes all the way from North Avenue to Orchard. Some people picture that happening in Montrose. I hope not. I mean, I hope we don't have CMU goes all the way from Townsend all the way to Junction and fills the whole town up. But if that happens, it happens. But anyway. But we also have the Bishop campus that's out by the mall. Many of you know that industrial park in Grand Junction used to be Forsyth Circle and all that up there on 25 Road. That's where the equivalent of CMU Tech is down there. They have 30 different programs down there, including aircraft, so you can get your pilot's license. They have culinary arts, they have transportation, they have machining, they have all those different programs down there as well. We have our whitewater facility. It's the boneyard, for those of you that don't know, right? They do all the forensics, DNA forensics, and all that kind of thing for a lot of places around the world, right there in the whitewater facility. And also we have a South campus, which is actually interesting because it's called South. It's actually East in Grand Junction, but I don't know why it's called the South campus. But that's the electric line worker training program. Again, I could picture an electric line worker program here in Montrose, right? How many of you have driven down Rio Grande and seen Tri-States Training Yard and WAPA down there? That facility largely goes unused. Well, we should have that down here where we teach advanced line worker training right here in Montrose. So we're working on those kind of programs as well. This is our campus though. We've changed it now. So this is the building that we're in, Cascade Hall. We just completed this parking in the back. And again, I always want to give kudos to the city of Montrose, great partners in helping us make these things happen. We partnered with the city to complete this quad project, which is now done. I know it irritated a few people that we closed South 3rd, but it really makes it safe for these students to go back and forth across the campus. And then we put in a really nice lit parking lot back here. Over here on the main part of the campus, we have the old Morgan School, which is building number 1 right here. We call it the Buell Higher Education Center. That's where most of our academic classrooms are. And we rent that space from the Montrose Regional Library District. So kudos to the library folks for making that arrangement happen. And then we also have this building here we just acquired 2 years ago in fall of 2022. Again, in partnership with the city of Montrose. And so we have campus housing now. Again, I know many people don't realize that actually at CMU Montrose you can actually attend and stay on campus the entire time. We partnered with the Montrose Regional Health for our food services. So students can then go to the hospital, which how many of you know that the Montrose Hospital has great food? And if you're new to the area, go eat there because it's really good. And a slice of pizza is $1.93. And for a student, that's a big deal, right? It's a super big deal. So anyway, that's what our campus map looks like. This plaza is really nice. The ultimate goal here, and for those of you that are new to Montrose, the long-term goal is to actually have this plaza, or quad as we call it, go all the way to Main Street. Many of you have been here where we had Main in Motion on Thursday nights. And to me, culturally, Main in Motion was one of the most important things that Montrose had going for it. Because most of us, we're privileged, right? We have the ability to do things because we have funds. Most people, not everyone that are in this room, I'm saying. Thursday nights was an opportunity for those that didn't have any money to bring their kids down, get their faces painted with balloons and listen to music and food and all that kind of stuff. So culturally, it was super important as a melting pot for Montrose. But it became more and more difficult. Why? Because on Main Street, we had to have the local police block the streets off, bring in the cones, and as the county, I can imagine you'd appreciate that if we did it in the county too, but it was just a hassle, right, to close Main Street every Thursday night. And then we got to the point where we started having to have permits, right? You had to have a permit to come play music. And at some point that just becomes, okay, that's not gonna work, right? In the town of Crested Butte or the town of Telluride, if you're gonna have a festival, what do you need? An orange cone, drop, music plays. That's just the way they do it, right? That's what we need in our plaza down here. So if somebody wanted to come play music, come play music. If you wanted to bring your little cart out and sell something, great. So we now can have Cinco de Mayos and things like that on this quad, all the way across this campus. And so the vision that you'll hear Bell and others talk about, and Judy Ann Files, who's done this for a long time, in the partnership with the university, let's do this together. So that we have a community park downtown that can be used for community events. And oh, by the way, it's a university as well, okay? So there was a lot on that slide. That's Branston Center. That used to be Patrick Davis's office. Johnny Lowe and the architects in our community. For those of you that are relatively new, Patrick Davis and Johnny Lowe, the architects here, designed the pavilion, the airport, the library, and so they were basically the local folks there, and that was their office. And so we, again, in partnership with the city, and Jim and Sharon Branscombe acquired this facility, and that's the administrative offices and our student center now for here on the campus. Here's our other quad. So you just see some of the, this is our police academy, and so the cadets are there in formation. That was our very first cohort that we had 2 years ago. We also have a little study area for our students. And this beautiful old building, the architecture of that building still is just amazing to me. So what I try to do is just show you some pictures. The thing that we have to focus on at this campus, we have the academics down. We're really good at that. We have really great, amazing instructors. And I can say that now since I have gray hair too. Our kids today are amazing. And a lot of times when we get older, we think, these kids these days, trust me, these kids are smart. And they are really willing to learn. So we have state-of-the-art facilities. What we need is a little more collegiate feel, right? These students are coming to college. This is their experience. So they don't have a band, and they don't have a football team, and they don't have all these things, but we have to have collegiate experiences for them. And so that's one of the things that we really work on, is to make that happen. This is a really important slide right here. It's 1 year old, but all of those students right there attend the Montrose campus. And how much do they pay in tuition, do you think? Will's got it, zero. Zero. Why? Because the city of Montrose and others have developed the Montrose Success Fund. And so if you're a graduate of the Montrose School District, anywhere in the Montrose School District, you attend the Montrose campus for free. Now, we're also going to introduce here in a minute, we talk about the CMU Promise, that's even going to go beyond that. But cost is no longer a barrier. Cost is no longer a factor. But look at all these students that were able to attend this college, whether it's a trade school or welding or whatever, and their cost is zero. So we don't want a bunch of students that are going to rack up a whole bunch of debt, get a bachelor's degree in something, and then go to work at the, because they wanted to own a Dairy Queen or something. That's not really what we want. This is the inside picture of our first dorm. This is Elise right here. She's actually moved on to main campus now. She was our first resident assistant. So she took care of all the people that lived there. Okay. So why in Montrose? This is a really busy slide, but I think this is really important, and it's one that I want you to kind of lodge in your mind. It just kind of blew me away when I first saw it. But for those of you that are in the back and you can't see all these, the green counties, this is all the counties in the state. All the green counties have above the state average for people that are over 25 years old that have at least a baccalaureate degree, okay? All the orange counties are less than that. So here in Montrose County, 23.9% of the people in Montrose County have a baccalaureate degree. In Delta, that's 21.2, and in Mesa, that's 27 point something. If you look at San Miguel County, 56%. Uray is 48%. La Plata is 43.9. Gunnison is 55. Pitkin is 63. Eagle is 48. And Routt County is 50.4. If you follow the studies further, you'll see that there's a direct correlation to crime, drug use, poverty, and everything else when it comes to education. So if you look at all the social factors, the higher educated your population is, the less of those evils that you have. So the goal in these areas is we have got to get people skilled up. Doesn't make you a better person to be educated, right, George? But it does give you an opportunity to improve your life and other people around you. And that's really the whole notion of what we want to do. And really, again, thanks to partners like the City of Montrose and the county that see that same vision. Montrose Regional Health, Delta Health, the school district, we all see this together. And how do we provide this opportunities for our local students, okay? Not everybody here is going to go on. Phoebe mentioned my son. He wanted to study chemical and biological engineering and biomedical engineering, dual track degree, whatever. He had to go away. We don't have that here. And we don't have enough students that would sign up for something like that, so it's impossible. So he ended up having to leave. But the Montrose School District prepares students amazingly well, and they're not all going to go on to Stanford or Penn State or Michigan or wherever they're going to go. And so we need to be able to prepare right here to give them skills that they can function right here in our community. So how do we do this? Then in Montrose, we focus on regionally relative programs. This is why it's super important that we recognize in our community, what do we need? We're not Grand Junction, right? We're different down here. What do we need? So in the Grand Junction, these are all the recent additions at CMU. I've highlighted in yellow the specific ones that we've brought to this campus. And there are others that we'll ultimately bring to this campus, like culinary arts, like the hospitality program, and some of those as we can. But we started a bachelor's degree in criminal justice here. And this is super important for us to recognize. The city of Montrose was down 22 police officers and I can't remember the years and all that when we did the public safety tax, is that we had the funding, we just didn't have the police officers. We also had the facility, or have the facility, we just didn't have the police officers. So the only way you can do that is to grow your own, right? You can't, how many of you own a business, or owned a business? You can't recruit anybody to come to Montrose. Don't even try, right? It's more expensive to live here, and the wages are less. Good luck with that process, right? Whether if it's a school teacher, or a nurse, or a police officer, you can't do it. So how do we do it? Let's take our smart people and grow our own. So that's what we've done, is that we have our own criminal justice program here. And what's important about that is that we develop pathways at the high school so that they're interested in these programs. But what happens is that once they get out of high school, you have to be 21 to go into the police academy. And so these kids all leave. And they go off and do whatever they're going to do, and they don't come back. So what we developed in conjunction with Chief Hall and his counterparts, we worked for about 18 months on this, actually, with Tim Cox and Matt Smith over at the city PD, and also with the county sheriff's folks. Let's set up an apprenticeship program like that, so that when somebody gets out of high school, they can go to work for the city as an intern while they're getting their associate's degree in criminal justice. Then they become 21 years old, they can go into the police academy, and they can finish their bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and that would give them the potential to go on to be a sergeant or get promoted within the police department. And so, really successful program that we have going on right now. We'll see how these students come through. Now we've got some work to do in the school district because we don't have a NJROTC instructor. And that was part of that pathway, is to have somebody that goes through that program. So we'll get there. And also the post we started 2 years ago, the police academy, the associate's degree in criminal justice, and then just a couple of years ago, and we just had a presentation this October, where we We took over the practical nursing program from Technical College of the Rockies. They really had a difficult time keeping faculty. They had students, they just didn't have the faculty down there. So we acquired that practical nursing program from them, and so we now have 4 nursing programs on this campus, 80 nursing students. My mother-in-law, Doris, she's a nurse, and she remembers fondly, I still remember her talking all the time about nursing school. Well, this is nursing school to these folks that go to these programs here. It's important. It's a significant part of their life, and we need to make it the best that we can. So that's what we have right here. We just started that. A lot of people ask this question, so I wanted to make sure that we pointed out the number of full-time students. We have about 300 on this campus. Now, what does that mean? Well, the way they do that is they take the total number of hours that are taken at this campus and divide by 12. And that's what that number is. It's about 500 people. If you look at names, so it affects about 500 people at any given point in time, because a lot of people just take one class here and then they go to main campus, or they take 2 classes here and 2 online, or whatever. There's a whole combination of all kinds of things right now, but it affects about 500 people. So that's what we have here in our community, is 500 college students, okay? So we're all getting used to it, but it'd be interesting to me when I became the director. We used to have a sign out front that said no skateboarding. And I was like, on a college campus, really? Isn't it required to ride a skateboard? Isn't that a requirement? I rode a unicycle when I was in college, but. So high school students, look what happened in 2017. We improved our relationship with the Montrose School District, and we have concurrent classes now here for our high school students. While you're a junior and a senior, you can get an associate's degree, you can get a certificate. So we have about 80 students that come over here every morning. They're sleeping right now, but back in the middle of January, they'll come back and they'll take classes like early childhood education, be a certified nursing assistant, computer classes, what am I forgetting? Welding, machining. And also the early responders, the EMR. Okay, so those are the students that come here every day to do that. Now, one of the things that was interesting, I started as the director here right in the middle of the pandemic in 2021, where we had a really steep decrease. We all know what happened there with homeschooling and that whole fiasco that we all went through, but we're on our way back, and the goal is to have more students that do that. And so, since Carrie's not here, I'm going to pick on her a little bit. Maybe she'll watch it later on the YouTube channel. But one of the things that always struck me was, first of all, it'd be too hard to come to campus because it's too far away. How many of you have seen students at City Market at lunchtime? It's not too far. They can make it. So we want to pave a road from Montrose High School over here so students can get back and forth. But beyond that, we've developed relationships with other school districts. And the other piece that I guess I would like to say with that is, at Montrose High School, how many of you realize that some students actually have open hours? Okay, so here's my philosophy on this. I know not everybody agrees with it, but here we go. When you're 16, you don't need an open hour. When you're 40, you need an open hour. If you have kids, around 30, you need an open hour, right? But when you're 16, you don't need an open hour. You need to be taking something. So the choices that I try to say to the school district is, tell these kids, here's your open hour choices. Early childhood education. That's not a bad thing to learn. You may have kids someday. That'd be a good thing to know, is behavioral skills and all that. Or computer skills. They're already skilled in that. They might as well get skilled up and get a certificate and get the CompTIA certificate, so they could go work for the county at $60,000 a year with that certificate right out of high school. Greg Story has begged me to get people certified in these so that he could get them on over at the city with high-paying jobs and all that kind of stuff. That's your open hour, right? So those are your choices, not just go sit in a classroom somewhere and watch Netflix or something like that. So that's something that we have to do as a community, is that we have to develop these things so that they ultimately become natural for people to do that. We also have, if you want to learn construction, We have a partnership with Technical College of the Rockies. We work hand in glove with the college. There was a day there was a certain amount of competition. Well, you know, there's only 40,000 people that live in Montrose County, right? You can't compete at a higher education with that few of people. So if you ratio it down to the eligible students, if you want to do construction, where should we do that? We can do some of the classes here, but most of the classes will be done in Delta, because they have a partnership with Habitat for Humanities and all that. Well, again, see, some people say, well, that's too far away. No, it's really not. How many of you know that right over here at the campus, every hour, there's a bus, All Points Transit, that leaves here, goes right down Townsend, goes into Olathe around the high school, goes to Technical College of the Rockies, goes around that, goes right back up, and goes to Delta Health, turns around, comes back. It does that all day long. All day long. So you can get people to Technical College of the Rockies in 25 minutes and 25 minutes back. What if on that bus ride down there, you taught them geology of the region? Or Dr. Ackerman taught them about the birds and the migratory patterns of the birds that we have here, the sandhill cranes and all that kind of stuff. And they got high school credit for that while they were doing it, right? The downside of it is right now, the internet stops at Olathe when you're on the bus. That's when you take a nap, because you can't do any more work. So we're working with All Points Transit. How could we put internet on that bus so that students, while they're going, they could have their earbuds in and listen and do conversational Spanish or something like that. So there's so many cool things that can happen in the future as we become more regional, okay? I got that all out of that slide. Traditional students. We used to be non-traditional back in the day. This is 2010, meaning that you're older, right? You say, I gotta go back to college, or I'm not headed anymore, I gotta go to college, whatever. We're traditional now. These are young students right out of high school. They come right out of high school and they're going to college here, and that's what we have here is very young students. We're also very female, about 70% of the people here. So we really have to work hard to try to get more male students here. And so that's one of the things with the trade school, not to stereotype, but that's just the nature of the way it works. We have more male students in our trades, and then we have more females in our academic programs. So there's some work to be done there, because what is the natural as we head towards equilibrium? It's about 50-50, right? In the world, there's about, what, 50.6% females versus males, but it's around 50-50. These are the folks here. I just wanted you to see Rose Cochran. We have her. She's amazing. She keeps track of all of our nursing labs. Tammy is in the back there. Tammy, raise your hand. Tammy is our campus operations manager. She came to us we felt kind of bad because we swiped her from the school district, but she's working with the school district programs, and so it really works out really well. Jim Aragon is our building services technician, and Kathy, aren't we happy that we have him? And Chris Wilcox is our student services coordinator, and Chris, he makes sure that the schedules all work out for all the students here. And he's also amazing. I don't have a picture of Kathy Marsh, but she's our part-time administrative support person. So this is our mascot, Rowdy, and he comes down every now and then. Like I said, we have amazing support from main campus, and they realize that this is the kind of stuff that college kids need, is just that whole excitement. And so we had Rowdy come down and do some stuff. We didn't let him get too involved in breaking things, but in this very room, we did a Choose CMU event, and these are students from all over the state that were coming to CMU, whether it's main campus or the Montrose campus, and they gathered in this very room and went through an orientation that was 4 or 5 hours long that oriented them, so they didn't have to travel all the way to Grand Junction. So there was another really cool thing that we did. We're trying to do at least one community event per month, which is a lot for us. You saw the picture of the staff here. We're limited on staff, but they will come down from main campus. This came as a result of when I first took over as director. How many of you know Martin Valdez? Really great guy that works for the, some of you do. works for the state of Colorado, and his main focus is for the migrant workers and their families and immigration by and large. But I used to know him when I was at EMEA. He was on part of our member advisory council, and so we always tapped his knowledge on the Latinx community, is how can we reach the Latinx community. So I knew he was really an expert in that field. So I went and had lunch with him when I first started as director, and I said, so my challenge at this campus is the demographics of Montrose is this, in terms of the number of Latino students or Latino citizens, and yet our enrollment is way less than that. So how do we get to the point where that should match? It should be close, right? It should match your local demographics. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but if he was here, I'd say the same thing, is that I said, Martin, so what do we have to do? And he said, well, Steve, the main thing is that the word university in Spanish means rich white person.
Oh.
And if you think about that for a second, obviously it's a euphemism, but that's really culturally, that's not for me, all right? That's for the rich white person. And so, okay, all right, I hear you. So we need to break that barrier down. We need to fix that. And I said, so tell me some solutions. And he said, one of the ways that you can reach culturally the Latinx community is through soccer, football, right? Dancing, and drinking. And I said, okay, I've been on this job for 2 weeks. So you want me to throw a big soccer party with drinking and dancing? So let's start with soccer. So we did. We got a hold of the CMU men's soccer team, which are amazing. How many of you like soccer? The CMU soccer team, both men and women, are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. Well, we talked them into coming down. So we did a clinic for our local high school kids, and they put together, they were going to play Otero Junior College, but since the road was messed up, Otero couldn't get over from Pueblo. So we played ourselves, but we had collegiate sports right here in Montrose. And thanks to a partnership with the school district, past president Tim Foster came down and flipped the coin and made it just as big a deal as it would have been if they were playing a regular college game. Rowdy came down, Ricardo Perez, many of you know him. We have a strong partnership with the Hispanic Affairs Project, and that's, again, to reach that community is how do we make sure that this is their university too. This doesn't belong to anybody. This is everybody's resource, and we should take advantage of it. So we brought that soccer team down. Oops. So let me go through the recent happenings as we try to make this more of a collegiate experience. We had our second cohort graduation. We had our first outdoor education class, backpacking here. So we want to bring the whole program of outdoor education to this campus. Western's doing a better job of it than we are, but this is a much better suited place for outdoor education than it is at Gunnison. That might be a little bit biased, but homecoming events. We also were fortunate enough to have the board meeting for the CMU Board of Trustees. Our own J. David Reed, who used to be the chair of the CMU Trustees, has been a real asset to our community in making sure that we have this really strong tie. And I always like to talk about that. But we had, at that point, we had a healthcare roundtable. We brought in Delta Health and River Valley Health and all the local folks for the health programs and saying, are we meeting your needs? And what can we do to make that better? Lecture series. How many of you know that we have a lecture series, not just the forum, which is weekly, but we have a lecture series during the academic school year where we have something that's a little bit, maybe a little bit more challenging. Dr. Gail Frazetta came down and did a 3-part series on women's health over the last several months. That was really popular. We're getting ready to do a business closet, and this is for some students that may not have access to quality clothing, so they can do a resume, and they can also go do their interviews and that kind of thing. Student services collaboration with the Colorado Workforce Center. We're going to actually have an embedded Workforce Center employee that's on campus so that students can come get career guidance like they do in main campus. Again, thanks to our partnership in the city of Montrose, we recently just put fiber optic cable between all 4 of our buildings on campus. They don't have that on main campus yet, but we do have it here. And the idea is then to tie that into our fiber network here so that we have high-speed network here, right? Today, as of today, for many of you that are actually on the Wi-Fi, it's actually shot across on a Wi-Fi system. It's very, very slow. And then the CMU Promise, and I want to talk about that when I finish. But this was one that kind of gives me goosebumps, so I want to make sure that I hit play on this. This is Sergeant Courtney Jones from the Montrose Police Department.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, family, friends, and instructors, please stand and allow me to formally introduce you to the Western Colorado Law Enforcement Academy's graduating class of 2302 as they gather here on stage.
And if that doesn't give you goosebumps, these are people that are in Montrose that are now, every one of them are working for one of our law enforcement agencies right here in Montrose. One of them was from Fraser, Colorado, and so on, but every one of them were sponsored by their agencies. And that's just pretty cool stuff to be able to do that. Okay, I'm going to zip through these other slides and get to the nitty-gritty. Associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, all of those can be done right here in this community. The technical programs that we currently have, welding, nursing assistant, manufacturing, early childhood education, computers, emergency responders. We have summer camps. Now that one we're trying to work a little different than they do in Grand Junction because our library does amazing summer camps. Boys and Girls Club does a really great job at summer camps. The library, everybody does really good summer camps, so we're going to try to work together and make that as a team effort rather than doing our own. But we also have Golden Scholars. I don't think there's anybody in here that's over 60, but once you turn 60, it costs $25 per credit hour to attend any class at the university, even if it's in Grand Junction if you want. Master's degree levels, whatever. Welding, art, all those kind of classes are all available right here for anybody that's a Golden Scholar. We also have on-campus lifelong learning programs that we want to put together. What do we need? What do we want? So I want to put a plug in here. We have an advisory council at our campus that meets once a month during the academic school year. Our own favorite, Kathy Hebers, chairs that group. But we have folks on there like Keith Caddy with the county, Bill Bell with the city. We have Carrie Stevenson, Dr. Carrie Stevenson with the school district. We have Paul Palladino with the library, Mary Rasmussen with the Montrose Regional. We have people like that are deeply rooted into the community that are getting advice from the community of saying, what do we need to do here? What do we want to try to accomplish? And that's how that feedback mechanism comes back, is back on our, through that advisory council. And so we've been working on quite a few of those programs to try to see if we can get them implemented. But we also have a really great online experience for people that want to do online classes. And again, it's very inexpensive to do that kind of stuff, but CMU is really an amazing institution. I mean, I've been affiliated with it for a long, long time. But the more I've known about it, the fact that we, just like we on the Western Slope, we roll up our sleeves and get things done. We're not on the Front Range where there's 7 million people and it just happens. It's 40,000 people in the county, 20,000 people in the city. It's rolling up their sleeves and making things happen. Like having a university here, like having a performing arts center, like having a state-of-the-art airport. It's like all these things that we do, it's because people are engaged in the community. And that's really what our campus is made up to, is what do we want it to be when we grow up? And what do we want to have happen? So what's new is the Academy, the Associate's Degree in Criminal Justice, Practical Nursing Program. What's happening in the future? There's so many things that are going on that we try to keep track of this, but expanding the campus, we're going to have to do some expansion probably over the next 10 years, because with the CMU Promise, and I just want to talk about that real quick because I'll run out of time for questions, is that anybody that lives in the 28 counties west of the Continental Divide and your adjusted gross income is less than 65,000, which if you look at the demographics, and I actually have our copy of the census and the graphics, and all that stuff here, which is most of the people, it's free to attend CMU. We don't just have to rely on the Montrose Success Fund, it's free to attend CMU. And so that barrier is just gone. And so that's what the CMU Promise is really all about is, you know, we have got to grow our own on the western slope. We have got to get those counties from orange to green to get the level of education up here, both in the trades and the academic programs, because the bachelor's degree is not for everybody. But what that means is, and there's a really great program that they're doing, is they're going back to people that started college and saying, come finish, it's free. So that's what's super important, I think. Expansion of the programs, childcare is number one in the state priority, right? Childcare, 60% of every worker in Colorado leans on childcare. If you don't have affordable childcare, what happens? The 9-year-old watches the 3-year-old. Not a good thing, right? We're learning things that we shouldn't be learning. And aunts, uncles, grandparents, really not very good providers, right? It's been a while since they've done that in many cases. So maybe they're not giving them the academic training they need, maybe the rigor, some of the things that they might need. Construction, manufacturing, criminal justice, outdoor industry. I also mentioned and touched on earlier is our plan is to do culinary arts here and hospitality in partnership with the city. We already have a culinary arts program in Grand Junction and we can expand that. So this is another one I think I want to do a takeaway. I want you to leave this, is that we formed a partnership and a collaborative here called the Western Slope Schools Career Collaborative. So we have the school districts of Ridgeway, Montrose, Delta, Gunnison, all partnered with the 3 higher education, Western Colorado University, CMU-Montrose, and Technical College of the Rockies. Those 7 groups have come together to make sure that we make this a regional opportunity. So we're working on programs where we can get students in Gunnison to be able to do our welding program here, because they don't have one in Gunnison, but they can do that all online, except every 3 weeks they get on a bus as the road's closed. The road's open, by the way. Did you know that? The machines are gone and all that stuff, so it's open right now. We can get students to come every 3 weeks here to spend all day Friday and part day Saturday, since we have housing. They can come here and do their lab work. We could do the same thing with nursing. We could do the same thing with machining. And so we're trying to finish this partnership with those things. And then more collegiate activities on our campus. This is some stuff that I put together. It's what I wanted to be able to express with this was that the Futures Committee of our Advisory Council was so far ahead of itself. These are the things that they said that we need in our community, both programs, infrastructure, and then outreach. And they presented that to the Board of Trustees. Well, lo and behold, that's part of our strategic plan now. So on this campus, the ideas that came from Montrose are part of the strategic plan for Colorado Mesa University. So your takeaways, we have to raise the educational level here. We just have to. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean if you don't have a college degree that you're no good? No. You can be educated by taking one class, right? In cooking, knitting, bartending. It doesn't matter, but you're going to get some kind of educational experience that raises the bar. And then I think it behooves us really to share the experience that, guess what, there really is a university here in our community. And it's your university. So if you have ideas or thoughts, and I always like to say we're the only university system in Colorado that has both a trade school and an academic college in one. I've been told, Steve, you can't say that. Nobody's ever been able to tell me any other college that has that. If you go to CU Boulder, they don't have a welding program there, guaranteed. They just don't have it. CSU, they have a vet school, but they don't have a welding program.